Priyanka, you have a different relationship coming here. You came to the States in your teens to live with family, ultimately returned to India. I read there was a bully that was one of the motivating. There was one person, right? We won't name names, but if you want to name names.
I've named her on TV before. Spare her.
Well, but one young woman helped shape your return back to India. But you had a really interesting trajectory since then. You planned to become an aeronautical engineer, but you ended up being Miss World, and along came the Bollywood producers and persuaded you to start acting to the point where you had 50 movies under your belt, and one of the most, if not most famous celebrities in India, the second largest country in this world. I mean, unbelievable success. And you came to the U.S. at the apex of your career, at least in terms of your professional career having been built in India. And I'd like you to reflect a little bit. What was it like coming here, not necessarily having to start over, but having to prove yourself in a different way when people often didn't even understand the industry that you were coming from?
Yes, that was my relationship with the United States is very interesting because my adolescent years were spent here, and you know how important 12 to 16 is for just a human being and to shape them. So I kind of became an amalgamation of the East and the West wherever I went after that. So when I came back to America, I was doing music. I was signed as a recording artist with Interscope. And I came in to do, I'm a fan of music. I love everything music. So I was having the best time of my life. But I'm also not someone who's entitled. I've always achieved everything that I have on my own. I did not have advisors. I started working when I was 17 years old. My parents were physicians. They had no idea of entertainment. My dad just loved music, but that's all we knew. And to navigate the business of entertainment and to navigate being a young girl, you know, in the big bad world of entertainment, and now with all the conversations that are happening, you guys know it's not the easiest thing. So, but I was never entitled. So when I came to America this time around, which was at like 27, 28, I was not afraid to walk into a room and introduce myself. I would walk into a room and I would say, yes, my name is Priyanka Chopra. You may not know me. I'm an actor from India. I've done about 50-something movies. But I'm also someone who's not defined by my ethnicity or where I come from. I'm a woman, I'm an actor, I'm an artist, and I'd like to see where that takes me. So entitlement, even now, is not something that I hold and I expect. Like whenever I walk into the room, I don't expect each and every one of you to know me at all. I've worked in a completely different country, in a completely different continent, which doesn't mean that you need to know about it. Like when I go back to India, I remember I was at the Oscars the first time when I went 2 years ago, and I was presenting.
I love that. When I was at the Oscars, right? It's like.
What is an important part of the story?
I love to know, but I love that so like nonchalantly. I love it, yeah.
I was presenting with Leah Schreiber, and after we presented, we were backstage because there was a segment going on. So we were standing at the bar, and like some people who had won were coming in, and Leah was like, "Oh my God, that's the most amazing movie, and this guy has done blah blah movie," and I was like, "Oh," not trying to be ignorant, but I was, and I was like, "I didn't know him." He's like, "What? You didn't know him?" And I was like, yeah, because I sort of grew up in another country. If I name a celebrity from my country, would you know him? And he was like, oh, I get it. But that's exactly what it is. I know American music and movies and because I consume it back in India, but I don't know all kinds of pop culture. But I had to learn. Like when I came in and I started doing Quantico, which was ABC, network TV, a character, girl who plays, a character that I play, which is an American girl. She's not Indian. And I had to be culturally sound. Like I needed to speak like her. I needed to, crack jokes like her. Pop culture. I needed to know pop culture like her, which I didn't. There were lines which would come in. I still remember this one line where, and it's horrible because now I know her so well, but when I first landed, I didn't know her. And I got so much shit from my co-actors for it. There was a line which said, yeah, even Ronda Rousey loses sometimes. And I was like, who's she? And my co-actor, Johanna Brady, who was most of the time my pop culture teacher, would turn around and be like, she would whisper it in my ear, and then I would pretend like I knew her because I didn't want to sound stupid. But I had to learn. I wasn't entitled about it. And I think that really took me in a different direction this time around.
So being confident but not entitled and
Self-assured.
self-assured.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Indra, I feel like that's been